This story begins by introducing a man named Jason. He used to be a very strong and capable person, but now, he has fallen to working as a simple laborer. Every day, he has to work hard near a furnace that emits intense heat, just like a slave. Even though he works hard all day, no matter how exhausting it is, he receives very little pay. Therefore, all the workers at that place are very resentful of this injustice. Then, the evil factory owner called the police to immediately suppress all the workers. He didn't want them to gather and protest. When the police arrived, they beat the workers with batons and fired rubber bullets without mercy to harm the group of workers. Seeing this, Jason ran to help the injured workers. But suddenly, he was beaten severely until he fell to the ground. The police beat him mercilessly without a shred of pity. This made Jason start to get very angry. Therefore, he decided to fight back against the police. The police were no match for Jason. He took the baton and knocked the police unconscious, one by one, shouting at them in anger to stop the fighting and negotiate peacefully instead. In the evening, after work, Jason returned home. No matter how hard his work was, he still had a small family that lived in great happiness. His wife was young, beautiful, and they had a lovely daughter. Every time he saw his daughter sleeping in the crib, Jason felt that he was the happiest man in the world, having such a warm little family. But one night, his family's happiness was completely destroyed. When Jason had just finished bathing and was about to come out to eat with his wife, he suddenly saw his wife lying on the floor. Jason rushed to check on her, feeling very worried and terrified for his wife's safety. Suddenly, someone wearing a mask came in and shot something at Jason. Jason passed out. But when Jason woke up, he saw that his wife had died. Several police officers were pointing guns at him. In Jason's hand was a blood-stained knife. Seeing such clear evidence, the police immediately concluded that Jason was the murderer who killed his own wife. Therefore, Jason was accused of murder and injustice. After that, Jason was arrested and sent to a prison on an island called Terminal Island, which is known as the most brutal prison in the world. Upon arriving at the prison, he was sprayed with water to clean himself. He was beaten severely. They sprayed powder on his wounds before treating him as a new prisoner in this prison. Then, in the cell, there were 3 other prisoners who looked very brutal. They looked at Jason with bad intentions. They wanted to find a reason to beat Jason. Suddenly, we saw the prison guard walk out to guard. He heard a loud noise. From inside the room, the guard thought Jason must have been beaten to death. But when the guards went in to check, they were very surprised, because Jason was standing quietly with his hands in his pockets, as if nothing had happened. The 3 prisoners were already unconscious on the floor. The next day, we saw that all the prisoners were very interested in Jason. The reason is that Jason used to be a famous racing champion. But after getting married and having children, he decided to quit racing, and no one expected that he would end up in prison like this. Suddenly, a group of prisoners nicknamed Brotherhood walked in to find Jason. That group was very rude. They even spat into Jason's food bowl. A little later, their leader, named Rick, came out and stood behind Jason and showed his power in this prison. But they didn't know that they were messing with the wrong person. Jason stood up and hit Rick's face with his food bowl with full force. One of Rick's friends came to attack Jason and knocked him down too. Jason was very angry. He fought back and broke that guy's leg, causing a chaotic situation. Then the security guards came in and pointed their guns at them to stop fighting and stop causing trouble. After this incident, Jason was taken to meet a woman named Case. She was the warden in charge of this prison. She was cruel and killed people without hesitation. If any prisoner did not listen to orders or did not follow them, she would order her subordinates to beat, punish, and kill them without any pity. Ms. Case knew that Jason used to be a great racing driver, and that is why she wanted Jason to participate in a death race on this island. This race was broadcast live on their social media. For people around the world to watch, in order to make a profit, all friends must pay to be able to watch. They make a lot of money through all these activities. In the past, there was a racer who was more skilled than anyone else, a prisoner wearing a mask. But in his last race, his opponent, a racer named Victor, didn't follow the rules of the competition. He fired a missile from a heavy gun directly at his car, killing him instantly. After the masked racer died, the number of viewers for the program dropped significantly. So, Ms. Gray wants Jason to wear that mask and disguise himself as the racer to attract more viewers back. She set a condition that if Jason could win 5 car races, she would agree to release Jason to freedom forever, because he wanted a chance to return to see his daughter again. Jason had no other choice, so he agreed with Ms. Gray. After that, Jason was taken to a car repair and modification shop and assigned to work with the team members of the previous masked racer. This man is the team leader, an old car mechanic, whom everyone calls Cock. As for the other members, they all have high experience in repairing or modifying cars. After that, they took Jason to see the race car, which was modified from a Ford Mustang V8 with an engine power of 850 horsepower and a torque of about 700 lb-ft. Besides the powerful engine, Cock also installed many protection systems. The car's body was fitted with 0.75-inch bulletproof steel plates. The rear part has an additional 6-inch thick protective steel, which can effectively protect against rear-end collisions. The front is equipped with 2 machine guns, and the interior has many types of bombs and other protection systems, which confirms that this car is not an ordinary car. Jason also saw a button with a danger sign, so he thought it must be the button to fire a deadly missile. But in reality, it's just a normal button, like a lighter for burning the forest. After that, Cock introduced Jason to the other deadly opponents. The first one is named Leo, a Chinese American with a business degree. And he is a smart team leader who has killed participants. In the death car race, there were 4 people. The next one is nicknamed Koz, a man with tattoos all over his body and not very mentally stable, and he is deeply in love with Gray. Up to now, he has killed 12 people. Another one is Ree, the leader of Brotherhood, whom Jason had already clashed with. As for the most dangerous one, it is the prisoner named Victor. His ability is very strong in car racing, and it can be said that he is Jason's toughest competitor. While they were talking, another group of new prisoners was brought in. Those prisoners wore bracelets equipped with GPS tracking systems. Cock explained that the GPS bracelet is only put on prisoners who have the death penalty to prevent them from escaping. When he saw such a bracelet, Jason remembered something. On the night his wife was killed, the mysterious killer also wore such a bracelet. So he suspected that his wife's death and his being sent to join this death car race must have been a prearranged plan. So he decided that he had to find the truth. Who is behind all this? Not long after, the day of the death car race arrived. Jason put on the mask and sat inside the race car. Suddenly, a car arrived carrying many beautiful women. All those beautiful women were selected from the women's prison to be partners or assistants to the car racers. Jason's partner is named Lily, a beautiful woman with a very attractive appearance. And she knew the secret that the masked racer had already been replaced. When the car door was closed, Jason took off his mask. Lily was very surprised because the man looked more handsome than she thought. At the same time, the live broadcast of the death car race began. Because the return of the master Victor refused to give up. He drove a large pickup truck with sharp metal spikes on the front, machine guns on both sides, and rockets on the roof. Victor rammed Jason's car with full force. Because their cars had different power, Jason decided to turn into a small road to escape. In the live streaming room on the internet,
Ms. Gray ordered the activation of the weapon system, hidden along the road to make the viewers even more excited and thrilled.
That means the driver has to pass through all those signs, such as the sword sign, which provides weapons, the shield sign, which provides a defense system, and the skull sign, which means fatal danger. The man covered in tattoos, known as Koz, killed another driver who was showing off, accelerated his car, and overtook Victor's car. This made Victor very angry. Suddenly, his car received the right to use weapons. So he fired his gun, attacking Koz's car immediately. But luckily, Koz had received the defense system beforehand. So, he pressed to release a lot of oil from his car, falling behind his car, causing Victor's car to be unable to dodge in time. So, his car became very slippery. Koz felt very excited and happy, because his car received the right to use weapons again and fired at Leo's car. But Leo had many sharp metal spikes behind his car, causing Koz's car tires to explode and scatter everywhere, and another car driving from behind rammed Koz's car so hard that it flipped over many times. When seeing this, Leo took the opportunity to fire more missiles, causing Koz's car to explode into pieces. Then Koz crawled out of the pile of metal with serious injuries, but he still had his arrogance. This brutal scene made the viewers increase even more. Ms. Gray smiled with satisfaction. While the car race continued, we see that Jason now has the right to use weapons, but his car's gun wouldn't fire. Ms. Lily showed her courage by crawling out of the car window and hitting the jammed gun to make it work again. As for the other racers, they used their weapons to attack Jason's car. So, Jason drove to hide behind another car to protect himself from all those bullets. Suddenly, Victor also drove in and fired continuously. Luckily, Ms. Lily repaired the gun on top, making it work again in time, and slipped back into her car. They both smiled at each other because they thought they were the perfect partners for this car race. To escape Victor's gunfire attack, Jason drove through the sign to get the defense system. But strangely, all those defense systems were no longer working. Jason began to suspect that this was not an accidental incident. Someone must have sabotaged his car. As for the other racers, when they saw Jason's car not working like this, they pushed Victor's car off the road and joined forces to attack Jason's car, ending Jason's life right at that point. Jason's car was rammed from behind until it was almost completely damaged. Jason told Lily to come sit in my seat. Lily thought Jason wanted to joke or do something before they died. But in reality, he just wanted her to move so he could get the bomb placed under her seat. When they got the bomb, they threw it outside. That plan was successful. The bomb exploded, destroying the enemy's car, which was their competitor. As for Ms. Gray, she was very satisfied with Jason's ability. Then Jason accelerated the car and chased another car. And the person driving that race car was Roy, the leader of the Brotherhood, who was his old enemy. Then that guy Roy made a gesture towards Jason, which immediately reminded Jason of the secret ace, who had come to kill his wife. When Jason lost his focus and self-control for a moment, suddenly, Victor drove in, rammed his car hard, and that also caused Jason to fall out of that race. As a result, Jason lost, receiving only 6th place. After the race, Jason took the car back to the workshop to repair it. Mr. Couch examined the car carefully and suddenly saw that the safety system in his car had enough oil for use already. Why didn't the defense system work during the race like this? While everyone was trying to find the answer, Jason already understood the whole situation. He was sure in his heart that the person behind all this was Ms. Gray. She ordered people to kill his wife and connected the mistake to him, accusing him of being the culprit. The only reason was to force Jason to participate in this death race. Then, when Ms. Gray called Jason to participate in the next race, Jason immediately refused. But Ms. Gray was smarter than Jason thought. She showed a photo of Jason's daughter Now his daughter was taken to be raised by another family, and only Ms. Gray knew where Jason's daughter was. Jason was absolutely furious, barely able to contain his rage. But because Mrs. Gray had threatened his daughter like that, Jason had no choice but to agree. He had to compete again. Jason also knew he had to find a way to escape this prison to get back to his daughter. As for the killer who murdered his wife, if he wouldn't forgive him, he had to kill him to avenge his beloved wife. At night, while all the prisoners were asleep, Jason snuck into Rick's car repair shop all by himself. But Jason didn't know that they were already prepared and waiting for him. Rick's gang came out and launched a brutal surprise attack on Jason. Jason couldn't fight back and was in a great deal of pain. Rick stepped in, wanting revenge on Jason for their previous fight. Then, Rick used a stun baton to beat Jason. There were too many of them, so Jason couldn't fight back. Rick beat Jason over and over again, leaving him battered and bruised. Then, just as Rick was about to finish Jason off with a large club, suddenly, a prisoner named Cooler stepped in and stabbed Rick from behind to save Jason. Cooler and Jason were part of the same group. Rick was furious and they all turned to attack Cooler. Jason seized the opportunity to grab a piece of metal and attacked one of Rick's men, stabbing him in the leg. Jason broke free and prepared to fight back against the group. He grabbed a fire extinguisher to use as a weapon, knocking them down one by one. Seeing how fierce and strong Jason was, they started to retreat in fear. Jason grabbed one of them, pinned him against the wall, and struck his face with full force. That guy was nearly dead. But Jason's actions didn't stop there. He lunged at another guy, attacking him relentlessly. Without a shred of mercy, Jason looked like the Grim Reaper coming for their lives. Rick couldn't escape no matter where he tried to run. Jason became even more brutal, beating him until he couldn't fight back. Then, Jason grabbed a fire extinguisher to use as a weapon to finish Rick off. Jason's goal was to find out who was behind his wife's death. Terrified, Rick surrendered and confessed the whole truth to Jason. He said that the person who ordered him to do all of this was Ms. Grace. Even though Jason knew the truth, he didn't want Rick to stay alive any longer. He wanted to kill him right there to avenge his wife. But before Jason could finish him off, the security guards fired a taser at him from behind. Jason collapsed and was knocked out cold on the spot. Afterward, they sent Jason back to his cell to prepare for the race. It was the second death race, and the time for the race had finally arrived. As soon as the signal turned green, all the race cars sped off. But strangely, Jason's car didn't move an inch. Once all the rival cars had driven far away, Jason finally started driving slowly. Hutch, watching from a distance, couldn't understand what Jason was doing. But in reality, Jason did all of that on purpose, with a clear plan in mind. To get answers from Lily, who was sitting right next to him, Jason drove into a building and threatened Lily, demanding that she tell him the truth. Jason asked why his car's system hadn't been working properly during the last race, and whether Lily had been involved in that. At first, Lily refused to say anything at all. But when she realized her life was in danger and Jason was threatening her, she had no choice but to tell the truth. Finally, she admitted that she was the one who sabotaged Jason's car last time. She explained that she did it because Ms. Gray had been threatening her. Gray's plan was for Jason to lose so he'd be jailed and forced to race for them for life. Upon learning the truth, Jason pushed his car to its maximum speed and engaged the booster system, making his car shoot forward like a rocket. In the blink of an eye, he caught up with the other racers. Then, Jason looked up at Ms. Gray, who was watching the race, and vowed that he would definitely get his revenge on her. Jason then rammed his car hard into Victor's. Victor wasn't prepared for it, and his car was sent flying off the track. But Jason didn't continue attacking Victor because his real target was Apric. He screamed for revenge. As for Victor, he gained the right to use weapons and started firing bullets, attacking Jason. Even in such a dangerous situation, Jason wasn't afraid at all. And he didn't drive away either. Instead, he drove his car in reverse, with the front of his car aimed right at Rick's car, and used a laser gun to attack Rick's vehicle. Jason's car was speeding in reverse, and the shootout between the two cars looked even more intense. Before long, Jason got the defensive button, so he swerved immediately and activated the smoke bomb system to cloud Rick's car. Because of all that smoke and the high speed they were driving, Rick couldn't see the road at all. Finally, Rick's car flipped and crashed into a steel pole, which looked extremely dangerous. Jason stopped his car and let the other racers pass him by. When Rick crawled out of his completely wrecked car, Jason reversed his car back toward him. Then, he put his mask back on.
Even though Lily tried to stop him,
Jason still got out of the car and walked up behind Rick. Jason then grabbed Rick by the neck and snapped it, killing him instantly. This act was a direct threat to Ms. Hennessy.
When Ms. Hennessy saw it on the camera feed, she was absolutely furious. But for now, there was nothing she could do to Jason. So, she ordered her grandson, Rourke, to unleash another deadly weapon, to make the race even more brutal and exciting.
Suddenly, a monster truck drove onto the racetrack. This race, too, was orchestrated by Ms. Hennessy. The vehicle was equipped with heavy machine guns and missiles. The machine guns on its roof began firing wildly everywhere. Fire engulfed the track, and explosions echoed all around. Many race cars were completely destroyed. Then, the monster truck turned its sights on Jason's car. It launched a heavy assault, even spraying flames at Jason from both sides. Just then, Leon accidentally drove his car right alongside the monster truck. Suddenly, sharp spikes shot out from the monster truck's massive wheels and pierced Leon's car. The beautiful woman sitting next to Leon was struck by those sharp metal spikes. She died right there on the spot. Then, chains with sharp metal spikes dropped from the back of the giant truck. They hooked onto Leon's car and held it tight. Its cannon fired, aiming directly at Leon. It fired a shot, killing Leon and blowing his car to pieces. Now, only Jason and Victor remain on the track. Jason contacted Case, a member of his team. He told him to tell Victor that the two of them must work together to defeat that vicious giant truck. The two of them joined forces. They faced the fierce attacks of the giant truck. Finally, they managed to drive their cars in front of the giant truck. Both of their cars accelerated to the same speed. At the same time, they drove past the skull sign, the sign of death on the road. Suddenly, the massive weapon hidden on the road exploded. Hennessy's giant truck hit that device and was completely destroyed. It could no longer function. Jason emerged victorious in this race. All the prisoners in the jail cheered and applauded for Jason. They were extremely happy.
Meanwhile, Hennessy, who was sitting in her office, her face turned deathly pale with rage. She began to regret letting Jason enter this race, because the situation was spiraling out of her control. That's how it was. But regardless, Ms. Gray was determined to eliminate Jason in the next race, no matter what it took.
Meanwhile, the viewers watching the online stream outside were only interested in the racer's mask. No one cared who was actually behind that mask. Before the final race began,
Ms. Gray called all the prisoners to a meeting. When no one was in the garage repairing or building the cars, Ms. Gray ordered her henchmen to plant a dangerous bomb under Jason's car. Then, during that meeting, Ms. Gray announced to all the prisoners that whoever won the final race would be set free forever.
But Jason already knew the truth. Over the years, no one had ever survived or escaped this prison. So, everything Ms. Gray told the prisoners was just a lie. What they'll do, so we'll just have to keep watching. Before long, the final race arrived. Now, only 2 drivers remained, risking their lives. In this final showdown, to defeat Jason, Victor's car was fitted with rocket launchers powerful enough to pierce any defense. Jason got into his car. Case joined him in the car once again. But this time, Case warned Jason that Hennessy planned to plant a bomb under their car. It looks like Case has really fallen for Jason, hasn't she? Suddenly, the race began, and both cars took off like a shot. The corrupt prison guards secretly disabled all the weapon systems in his car, because they wanted Victor to win this race. In short, they wanted to kill Jason. Even Jason's defensive systems weren't working. It looked like Jason was definitely going to lose this race. Victor was absolutely thrilled. He started firing his guns, attacking Jason's car viciously. In this desperate situation, Jason suddenly thought of a plan. He dropped the defensive barrier from the back of his car onto the track to block Victor. But Victor swerved quickly and managed to avoid the barrier. Jason kept driving fast until he finally spotted one defensive button that still worked. Just as he was about to press it, a massive bomb fired from behind, destroying the button completely. Victor was the one who fired that bomb. He wanted this victory so badly. He wanted to be the champion and end the race quickly. So, he fired even more missiles at Jason's car. But those missiles flew past Jason's car and hit the wall ahead, causing a massive explosion. But regardless, Jason didn't stop, he drove straight into the raging fire. The missile that exploded just now was meant to break the prison wall. Then they drove out to the outside. Victor drove after him as well. In fact, what was happening was a plan Jason and Victor had prepared in advance. They used the race as an opportunity to break the prison wall and escape. Both of their cars sped toward the bridge ahead. As for Miss Case, she was so angry she almost went crazy, because she had been tricked by the 2 of them, using a ruse to escape. All of this was seen by many people around the world via their live broadcast, so she ordered them to cut the live feed and ordered all the guards to hurry out and catch Jason and Victor. Suddenly, Miss Case remembered she had one last trick left. It involved the bomb that had been planted under Jason's car. Miss Case rushed to grab the remote control to detonate the bomb. She wanted to kill Jason once and for all. She thought there was no way Jason could escape now. But there was one thing Miss Case didn't know. Because her own team had secretly swapped the bomb for a fake one. So, Miss Case became even angrier and ordered her men to use a plane to chase and shoot at them. Dozens of police cars were chasing after both of their vehicles. Lily started to get scared, worried about how they would ever escape, because everywhere she looked, there were police. But Jason, he was extremely confident. But in reality, Jason had already planned how to deal with all those police. He had a 5-kilogram bomb inside his car, which would help them make their escape. He would drop the bomb to attack the police cars, which would easily block the police's path, allowing them to keep driving away. Once they reached a safe location, Jason and Victor said their goodbyes and went their separate ways. Seeing the situation, Mrs. Gray decided that she had to catch Jason. But catching Jason was not going to be easy. Jason looked into Lily's eyes, then jumped out of the car and immediately vanished from the scene. Meanwhile, Lily kept driving the car forward. Mrs. Gray's henchmen, watching from their plane above, couldn't clearly see who was inside the car. So, the police continued to chase the car Lily was driving. Finally, Lily drove the car to a secluded spot. She put on Jason's mask and climbed onto the roof of the car. The police team rushed in and immediately surrounded the car. But they didn't know that the real Jason and Victor were hiding on a train, and were escaping from there freely. No one was left to block their path anymore. Both of them felt incredibly excited and happy. To celebrate the victory, Mrs. Gray opened the box with joy. But when she looked inside, she saw that it was actually broken. It was a damaged gift sent specifically for her. The bomb exploded, killing Mrs. Gray and the other workers there. 6 months later in Mexico, Jason and Victor opened an auto repair shop together. They repaired and customized cars for racing enthusiasts. The people there treated them like members of their own family. Then, a sports car pulled up in front of the shop. And a beautiful woman stepped out. That woman was none other than Lily. She walked over to Jason and hugged him with great longing. Afterward, Jason brought his daughter to live there as well. It looks like from this day on, the little girl might have a new mother. Because Jason and Lily are in love. And that brings our story to an end. If you enjoyed this story, please leave a comment saying great watch for the admin, and please like this video to encourage the admin to find more stories to recap. For new viewers, please subscribe and hit the bell icon. For now, I, Damdong Movie, would like to say goodbye. See you in the next story. Bye bye.